Welcome to Live on the Range. I'm Michael Breed. We have so much fun for you today. We're going to be looking at our featured group and obviously all the players that are preparing for this 100th playing of the PGA Championship. And we've got some great top tracer technology that's going to help you understand exactly what's going on. You're going to see some ball flight. This is going to be really intricate as well. We're taking your questions, so make sure you reach out to us here on Facebook. Stay a part of this show. It's going to be great fun. We're looking forward to a wonderful morning. Okay. This is a little look at Tony Finau. And you can see some of these numbers. This is really the stuff that we're going to be doing this morning, is paying attention to what's happening with the swing, how they generate this amazing ball speeds that they do, and kind of highlight some things that you want to pay attention to. For instance, ball speed right there at 177 miles an hour. That is about what you're going to see on the PGA Tour. Maybe some players will have slightly higher than that. You'll also get a look at carry distance and total distance. So with that driver, he's sitting right there. The ball carried about 285 yards, rolled out to 295. A lot of that will be out on the golf course, dependent upon what the conditions of the fairway are. And obviously, you know, we've had a little bit of rain a couple days ago, about 1.5 inches on Tuesday. The fairways are a little bit soft as we look at Vijay Singh now. And right to Vijay's left, you know that guy, Phil Mickelson. Past PGA champion. You can see on the club shaft there, it's a sort of a weighted sleeve. One of the things all these players are chasing is, you know, you got to be able to hit the ball far. This golf course is a big golf course. 7,300 yards, par 70. There's Ricky Fowler. And to his left, Martin Keimer. Ricky just getting out here, loosening up. His coach, Claude Harmon III, right there on the left-hand side. Ricky going off in just about 30 minutes. Common thing to see on the range, by the way, when these players are getting ready to go, they'll start out with some short little wedges and then progress through the bag. They likely won't hit more than 50 or 60 golf balls. That would be a lot. There's always this conversation about, should we loosen up with the longer clubs or start with the shorter clubs? And what I have found, and what I try to get my students to do, is start with wedges. And one of the reasons why is particularly the wedge that you use out of the sand. The swing weight of that is it's typically the heaviest swing weight that you'll have in your bag. So most players will play somewhere between like D2 and D5 in their clubs, but the sand wedges, you may even see them, some of them approach an E0 swing weight. And what that helps to do is it just helps to get a little bit looser. You also typically aren't trying to hit your sand wedge as far as you possibly can, so you can make some more fluid motions and not try to chase distance. Ricky appears to have gone to, this looks like a 9-iron. There's Phil Mickelson with his coach Andrew Getson. You know, this is fabulous. You can see his launch monitor right behind Andrew there on the ground. So many people talk about, well, you know, you're not going to find anything on Thursday morning before you tee off. These players would never do that. Listen, they are just like you and me. They are seeking and searching just like all of us. The only difference is they happen to have their coach and all the different monitors that they would need to play at the highest level that they possibly can. And you can see this other thing that I always find so interesting at this level. You know, that a lot of you feel like and we'll get to this question here in a second, Garrett. But a lot of you feel like, you know, I can't play like a PGA Tour pro. That may be true, but you can think like them. And if you look at Ricky Fowler, you see that alignment stick that he's got down on the ground. Most important thing that you can do is to make sure that you get your pre-swing stuff in order. So, for instance, alignment, grip, posture, weight distribution, all that stuff. That's something that these players are constantly working on. This question here from Garrett: does the course favor a cut or a draw this week? You know, Garrett, I would tell you this. I don't think it's necessarily going to favor one or the other. I think that you've got, if the golf course wasn't as soft as it is, we were out there yesterday and the ball is releasing, depending upon the player and the apex and all that other stuff, the ball's only releasing 7 or 8 yards in the fairway. It's not a lot. So if you're playing a golf course where the property itself is kind of moving in a certain way and you're working with terrain and it's fast, then the draw will help you get this ball to if you're turning it right to left, you can get it to move down the fairway better. You don't worry about it going out of the fairway into the rough. But in this situation, because as soft as the fairways are, the golf course is not tree lined to the point where you have to curve it to keep it in the tree line. You're really avoiding bunkers and water. And at that point, it's not really going to be more advantageous. The advantage to me will be trajectory of apex. And you'll see us throw up some numbers here looking at the apex of shots. I think apex is going to be a very, very important thing, and it always seems to be in major championships that apex is a very important thing. That's a wonderful question, Garrett. This guy, many people are thinking this could be his week. You look at somebody that hasn't won a major championship, Ricky Fowler, one of those players, and we all think that he's destined to win not just one, but a few, and he's still seeking his first. Worked very hard changing his golf swing with Butch Harmon. And now it's just, and there's Butch right there. You just see, you can see the BH on top of that hat. One of the neat things about being out here on the range is, in a major championship, is these coaches are still here on a Thursday. You can download the official PGA Championship app for live coverage. our featured group. We'll be looking in on them. They're not out here on the range just yet, but when they show up, one of those players, Tiger Woods, yep, we're going to get a look at him on the range getting loose to go play in this 100th PGA Championship. Here's a question from Jason. Is it possible that Tiger will hit a lot of 3-woods this week off of the tee? I think this is a really interesting question, Jason. I think what will happen, the fairways are very generous, and when fairways get soft, the width gets greater because you don't have to worry about the rollout. And when you're not worried about the rollout, the ball's not going to roll through the fairway. So I think the fairways are going to be a lot wider, and I think in Tiger's case, I think it will depend on that tee shot when he first pulls the driver out of his bag. In each round, how does it go? He's one of those players that when he hits that first one, then he starts the first bad one, then he starts shying away from the driver. But I think, if he gets a little confidence and starts hitting the golf ball well with that club, look out. Now his last 9 holes, just so that you're aware, his last 9 holes out at Firestone, he made 3 birdies, 2 double bogeys, 3 bogeys, and 1 par. Oh, this will be fun. This is the driver. And that's just kind of a loosen up swing. You see a golf ball that's apexing at 80 feet with a driver and carrying 261 yards. He's not really going at it at that point. That one looked like that had a little bit more pace to it. And hit that a little bit on the bottom. You see that so down the list there's a launch of 8 degrees. That's a little bit of a thinner shot, only apexing at 67 feet. That is not high. That's a little bit better. So that one launched at about 10. Still not quite swinging it as fast as he can, and it looks like he's trying to hit some little cut shots. You can see that the tracer moving that ball a little bit from left to right. That ball speed's a little bit higher. Apex still a little lower than I think he wants to hit it. This golf course at 7,300 yards and as soft as it is, what I believe you're going to see is you're going to see players try to change their trajectories and get them a little bit higher because you're not going to get a lot of distance on the ground. So you want to be able to maximize your carry distance. That one there, now that's going to be an apex. That should be nearing, say, 100 feet. There you go, 105. That's pretty typical out here on tour. You at home, your apex is something that you probably are not well aware of, but you're probably going to apex the ball depending upon your talent level in the, say, 70-foot range. There's Tiger Woods with the new putter, which has been a really good addition for him. I saw him in the hotel yesterday, and he was out walking his dog. He referred to it as his kid's dog. And then behind him is Davis Love. Tiger teeing off at 9:23 today. This will be an important club for Tiger. It is for everybody, but if Tiger can get to a point, and he's look, his first 2 rounds last week at Firestone were very good. He bogeyed his 18th hole in the first round, his only bogey of the round. And then in the second round, on his way to shooting 68, he had a 3 under, no bogeys again, and then made a late bogey there. But that putter has really proven to be a great move for him. He commented about how important it was for him to start to take advantage of technology. He went to a little bit of a more face-balanced putter to try to get the toe of that putter to release. Again, we're taking your questions. Please feel free to just send them in, and we'll do our best to answer them. You know who that is, right to his right. That's another man who needs to find some magic with his putter, Rory McIlroy. What's also going to be interesting this week is because the greens, the way they were, they did not prepare the greens the way it will play this week in the practice rounds. In other words, the greens were cut at the same height, but they weren't cut as often, nor were they rolling the greens. And so the green speeds today are going to be a little bit faster than what the players were used to in the practice rounds. And so I think you're going to see the players maybe spend a little bit more time in their pre-round preparation, hitting some longer putts, getting used to the pace. The greens here at Belle Reve are very big. A lot of undulation and movement to them. Tiger talking with Davis Love. Probably not talking about what club they're going to hit off the first tee. Back on the range here with Andrew Getson and Phil Mickelson. And here's a question from Chris. What will Phil have to improve on to win this weekend? You know, I think one of the things that Phil's going to have to do is he's going to have to, not unlike Tiger, get control of the driver. He's going to have to continue to make those sort of 8 to 10 foot putts. One of the things that I noticed as we look at some numbers here with Phil, and you can see the apex of that shot at 97 feet, 185 yards. That's probably a 7-iron that he's hitting. Out here on tour, players are if you just kind of assume that 6-iron's going to go about 200 yards, and they will have, you know, most of you will have about a 10-yard difference between from club to club. But what you want to look at is the similarity from shot to shot. So that one there, 179 yards, but the apex at 93. The other one was 185 and apexed at 95. Let's take a peek at what this looks at. Look at how similar the traces are. Now you see a shot like that, 175, a little less curve and cut. Typically you're going to, when you cut the ball, your apex will go a little bit higher. That was probably a mishit. That's more like what he's trying to do. That's apexing at 100, and that's probably going in the 185 range. Yeah, 187. You see that landing area number there at 50 degrees? That's a really important number here for players, and will always be an important number in major championships. The landing angle, what we call angle of descent. Now that's more along the lines of what you're going to see with that cut. And that one there, now all of a sudden at 209, now he's really starting to add some speed. it looks to me, and I've watched Phil earlier in the week, it looked to me like he was trying to add some more speed into his swing. One of the other things that I think you're going to see here as we do this is a really neat thing, is how he varies the carry distances. So many of you at home, when you go out to the range and you're hitting shots, you just grab your 6-iron and you just hope to hit your 6-iron the same distance every single time. These players are going to try to do different things. Vary the launch angle, vary the carry distance, vary the curve of the shot. Because when you go and you're hitting iron shots from the fairway with hole locations, you don't always have a 185-yard shot. Oh, yeah, this is a 7-iron. You've got to work it. You've got to move the ball around, both in trajectory, apex, height, and also curve. And that's what these players will do. There's Justin Thomas, his father Mike, doing a little watching. And you see in the background there's Ollie Schneider-Jans. He's also got an instructional aid that he's going to be using. This goes back to that point that I made earlier. So many times we think you come out on a Thursday and all you're doing is just loosening up and getting ready to play. These players on this tour are just like you and me. They're just as confused as we are, and they're trying to gain that perfection. You start talking about shaving quarters of shots and halves of shots. It comes with preparation. You can see alignment sticks will be out all the time. Here's Christopher. Are these greens very sloped? Hard to tell the grade on TV. Well, you're in the practice area, so typically practice putting greens are not going to have a lot of undulation to them. What I can tell you is that there is a lot of undulation to these greens, and these greens are very big. They're very big greens. Now, they're soft. There's no doubt that we think, and in this I include myself, we think that the scoring this week is going to be very, very good. And possibly even the winner being in the pretty high double digits here. We're talking about 17s, 16, 17, 18 under par to win. And largely because the greens will be so soft, and so the softness in the green will take out some of the undulation, because these players will carry the ball the distance that they want. The reaction of how that golf ball behaves on the green will change as they get softer, and so their golf ball won't get to another level of the green. It may spin a little bit more and come back down a slope, but it's not going to release away from them. And that's what we're used to seeing in, say, a U.S. Open or a Masters. And as that golf ball stays fairly close to where it lands on the green, now all of a sudden you're going to have a lot more birdie opportunities, quite obviously, and it will reduce the undulation. Coming into the week, I had thought that 3-putt performance or avoidance, if you want to call it that, was going to be a very important statistic. But as soft as these greens are now, I don't think that that's going to be the case. And there's the look at Jason Day, and you can also see he's got the tee line. This is wonderful for helping people with ball position and also angle of attack of the golf club. So you can see that line that's perpendicular to his body line. He's not even close to hitting that, but he's got that a good club head, maybe a club and a half behind. Playing on zoysia in the fairways, and the lies around here are so good. Let's take a little look at some of Jason Day's numbers. I think one of the really, really good postures in the game of golf. Look at the apex of this. This is going to be way up there. Ball speed at 115, apex 124. Carrying that 160 yards. That might be a wedge. Probably a wedge. And that landing area or angle of descent at the very bottom there, 56 degrees. That's about what you're going to see. This angle of descent now as he switches clubs is going to change. This is looking like something like a 7-iron. Yeah, maybe an 8-iron. But you can see how much lower that golf ball is. And what's also neat, by the way, is he's starting out and he's working with moving this at a different distance. I mean, at a same distance but different club. So we're seeing a 160-yard shot, which is still the same as the club he was hitting before, but about 20 feet lower, slightly different landing angle. He might have gone at this one just a little bit more and maybe turning it over. So that'll probably go a bit farther. Yep. Again, when you see the ball drawing the way that did, it's always fun to look at curve and how this ball is moving. So he hit a little draw there. When you start to do that, what you're going to do is you're going to change the descent angle or that landing angle, and you'll get a little bit more carry out of it. This is probably 8-iron. See how hard he goes at it. Now he's hitting a little cut. You can see when he goes to the cut, the launch angle changes. So now all of a sudden that launch angle goes up to 17 degrees. He still carries at 172. But look at how much higher that is. So that might be something that he's working on with a certain hole location. One of the things that will happen for the players is they will get the information as we look at Rory on the putting green. When they get their hole location sheet before they go play, they'll rehearse shots that they're going to have into certain holes. Welcome to Live on the Range. I'm Michael Breed. So excited to be out here on the practice tee here at the PGA Championship, the 100th playing of the PGA Championship. A really neat channel that we're offering here for you. We're going to show you some intricate things that go on the practice tee. Take a look at some of the trajectories of shots and what these players go through as they're warming up and preparing for their opening round in the championship. What you'll also see with Top Tracer, you're going to get some insight into what happens when they're changing clubs and how they're varying distance and what's going on with curve and apex and descent angle and all these little different things. We're also taking your questions, so make sure you feel comfortable enough to send questions to us here, and as it comes along, we're going to be able to answer them. We're going to be looking at primarily what's going on with Tiger Woods, Rory McIlroy, Justin Thomas. That's going to be our featured group that's going to be coming up on PGA.com, so it's going to be a wonderful morning and really excited to be bringing this information to you and including you in on the show. There he is. Tiger Woods. About an hour away from his tee time. So what you're going to see is, in this loosening up, these are going to be very, very shortish swings with a lofted club. That's likely his 60-degree wedge. He carries only 3 wedges. A pitching wedge, a 56 and a 60. What I love watching here, when you watch this, is how stable this face of the golf club is when he comes through here. Watch how there's no wrist activity. Swing's getting a little bit longer, but look at how open that club face stays through the shot. Coming up, our featured group coverage: Tiger Woods, Rory McIlroy, and Justin Thomas. This shot largely an upper body shot. You'll see a tremendous amount of movement out of the shoulders and the chest and the back. Not a lot of movement from the hips. It's a very, very upper body dominated motion. That doesn't mean the lower body's not involved. It just means that the upper body is kind of carrying the club. They call it a dead hands shot. When you're hitting shots with wedges like this, what you're trying to do is control the trajectory of the shot and the distance of the shot. You're not necessarily looking for power. Oh, this is fun. And you can see here, courtesy of Top Tracer, what we're seeing is 60-mile-an-hour ball speeds. And what you'll see with these wedges, you're going to see very similar ball speed to carry distance. So if he's hitting shots that are going to go 65 yards, his ball speed is going to be right around 60. That's what we see with wedges. When he starts making fuller swings, all of a sudden those things are going to change a little bit. Now you can see he's starting to hit a little farther. The ball speed's going up just a little bit, but the distance is going greater. Look at that. It's very similar. This is, as we look at Rory McIlroy, he also working on some wedges. This is a little bit of a longer wedge shot. One of the things that you should draw from this, if you're figuring out, well, how do I practice? How do I perform better? How do I loosen up? You know what? Do what these guys do. They start with wedges. The only player that I ever saw do anything slightly different was Tom Watson. Watson would come out and he would start warming up with his 3-iron. He felt like that was the hardest club for him to hit in the bag. It was also the longest iron. And so he felt like, you know, he would get out, he would hit some balls with that. That would help him loosen up, and it would lower his expectation levels. And it worked. Look at the fluidity of the motion. By the way, right to Rory's right is Henrik Stenson. Back over to Tiger. Still working on some wedge shots here. Stance has gotten a little bit broader, so I think he's going to be making a little bit of a fuller swing. Yeah. Watch how Rory on this will start with the lower body. This is a wonderful shot. You see how he has that little drive with the lower body first. That's one of the reasons why when he's swinging that club down, that the club works underneath. There's Tiger carrying that one 94 yards with an apex of about 63. This is phenomenal. Rory's got a little tape on the forearm. On the right forearm. There's a good look at it. That's my pick this week, by the way. I think this golf course, the way the golf course is set up and the conditions that they're playing under, I think it's going to be a driver's paradise, a long ball is going to be required here. Par 70, only 2 par 5s, and a number of par 4s that are near or over 500 yards. Ball is not releasing in the fairways. That will be our featured group on PGA.com. Tiger Woods, Rory McIlroy, and Justin Thomas. Well done by the PGA of America, putting those three together. Rory coming off a tied 6th at the Bridgestone with not a great final round. 73 in the final round. He also, at the Masters, put himself in a position to win that, where he finished tied 5th, and he shot 74 in that final round. Here's a question from Donnie. What is the one difference between an average golfer and a professional golfer when they prepare for a round? There's a lot of differences. One difference is, Donnie, the average player is gonna warm up with clubs that they are comfortable with. So they're gonna hit their 8-iron because it's their favorite club in the bag. Let me tell you, touring pros, they're not doing that. They're warming up with all kinds of different clubs. The other thing is that when a touring pro is warming up, they have already loosened the body up. They might have gone for a little workout or a stretch or something like that. They've spent an hour getting the body prepared to perform prior to getting out to the practice tee. You at home, you rolled out of bed, jumped in your car, maybe ate breakfast in the car, and then headed over to the golf course. And if you're lucky, you got 20 minutes to warm up. And so you're hitting your favorite golf club a couple different times, and you're going, man, this is great. I'm playing great. And then you go out there and you shoot 87. These players are not like that. They are prepared, as they should be. I mean, this is the elite of the elite. As we look at Tiger, pay attention to that apex again. These should be all, unless they're trying to do something with the golf ball, flight it or do whatever, they're going to be right around 100. Now, the other thing is that when these players are getting prepared to hit shots in their warm-up, notice the amount of time that they'll take in between a shot. What you're going to do at home is you're going to try to hit as many balls as you can because you're not prepared. You haven't gotten to the golf course with enough time to prepare properly. These golfers, obviously, this is their profession. They've got routines that they're going to go through. Look at the distance control. 156, 159, 158. Apex is all about the same. Landing angles, all about the same. Look at that grouping of those three shots. Look at how much time. Look at how deliberate Tiger is. The other difference between a PGA professional, a touring professional, and you at home is their club head speed on the golf course will tend to go up because of adrenaline. They're loosening up, they're getting ready, but they're not swinging at full speed out here on the practice tee. They're working on distance, they're working on certain things. They may increase a couple. They go out onto the golf course, their club head speed's going to increase, with the driver particularly, because they don't have the fear. They're not afraid of hitting a bad shot. It's much more aggressive mindset. Look at that grouping of shots. Look at the trajectories, the traces. He looked like he went at that one just a little bit harder. So that apex now up at 110. Landing angle now 56 degrees. They'll also vary the trajectories to try to get to these different hole locations. Front hole locations, back hole locations. This question here from Christopher, are they focusing on feel or tempo or solid hit with the club face? How about D, all of the above, Christopher? They're focusing on feel. They're trying to get their rhythm and tempo. They're focusing on the face because they have to focus on the curve of the shot. There's going to be hole locations that are going to be on the right. There's going to be hole locations that are going to be on the left. They're working on understanding their particular feels for a given day. It might not vary much at all, but you can see how Tiger now starting to hit some shots with slight draws. And if we can get a look at, and we will, the curve of the shots, what you're going to start to notice when we pull up that that part of our top tracer stuff, what you're going to see is how much they don't curve the ball, but it's still a curve. In other words, they may move the ball 15 feet. To you, that's a straight shot. To them, that's a draw or a fade. So you can see how he's just moving that ball just slightly to the right, flighting that down a little bit, and still getting a similar distance. The start line very similar, the curve very different. There's Rory McIlroy. Our featured group coverage coming up at 9:23. Tiger Woods, Rory McIlroy, Justin Thomas. Three of the very best players in the game of golf. All former #1 players in the world. Justin Thomas coming off a big win and defending his PGA championship. And Rory McIlroy, a 2-time PGA champion. Now we're going to start to see some fun. Now we're going to start moving into some clubs that have a little less loft. This appears to be an 8-iron for Rory. You know, Christopher asked a question not long ago about what are the players working on. One of the other things that you'll see them working on is their pre-shot routines. So they'll pull this ball in, set themselves up, couple of waggles, couple of looks. They're trying to create some similar feels to what they think they're going to get on the golf course. And that's another departure from what you might be doing when you're getting loosened up. I would say one of the most important things, and I tell my students this and I would share with you, if you can get to the golf course 20 minutes sooner than you most typically do, you will perform better through the round and over time. Just 20 minutes. Get up 20 minutes earlier. Just 20 minutes. Beg and plead with your spouse to allow you to do that. You'll be in a much better mood when you get home. You'll be talking about how well you played. You'll be grateful. I'm telling you, it's going to be good for everybody, including the dog. Rory now working on that draw. There's the curve. Look at the curve right there. That's his draw. 12 feet, 4 yards. That's straight. For you, that's a draw for them. Rory's still not adding all of the speed that he has. There's another draw, 12 feet. Look at the similarities in shots from one to the other. Apex similarities, curve similarities, distance similarities, ball speed. And that ball speed stuff is going to tell you what they're trying to do. So this one he went at a little bit harder. It's going to go a little bit higher. It's going to go a little bit farther. Back over to Tiger. Now this is a longer club. This may be a 5 or 6 iron. I was asked a question earlier this week on my radio show about Tiger's golf swing and the expectation that we've had for Tiger. And I think, Tiger's swing is a lot better. His body is performing the way we want. But he talked about how on Monday, he took Monday off and he just took an ice bath, basically just to kind of get his body back. What we forget about Tiger is, and we shouldn't, is not just the surgery that he went through recently, but all the surgeries that he's gone through. Here's a question from Tim. Notice Tiger's on the far left side of the range, probably because of the fade he plays. What type of player hits from the middle of the range? Well, one of the things that you have to understand, I would say, Tim, this is a really interesting question. Because in a perfect world, if there was nobody out on the range, you would go, yeah, he would choose to go over to the left side of the range. But the problem is that when you've got a 9:23 tee time or 8:23 local, there's not a lot of options on the range. And so what he's going to do is he's going to go where there's a spot available. But in a perfect world, you're 100% correct. And one of the things that you tell people is go to certain sides of the range based on a couple of different things. I might go to the left side of the range because I want to work on hitting draws. And I might go to the left side of the range because I want to get comfortable aiming away from a target. I might go to the left side of the range because I want to get comfortable with a border on the right-hand side and working on fading. So there's a lot of different reasons why we would alter shot shape, but as or alter our position on the tee to help us with shot shape. But as a rule, out on the PGA Tour, in this type of environment, a lot of times they don't have a choice of where they're going onto the range because it is so full. 210 yards. You saw the shot that he hit prior was 223. That's probably a 5 or 6 iron. Joey LaCava, his coach, or rather his caddy, on the right-hand side, and now back to Rory, and Rory's starting to add a little bit of clubhead speed here. This might also be a 6 iron. Saw him do that little mock half backswing, and what he might be working on in that is keeping the club head a little bit outside of his hands. He also might be working on in trying to draw the ball, and you can see that thing curved 45 feet. He might have been working on trying to shut that club face, where on that one he did not make that mock backswing, so this is probably going to curve quite a bit less. Here's Doug. Can you explain what landing degree means? Wonderful question here, Doug. That's what we would call the descent angle. So just imagine an airplane coming in, landing after the flight. The angle of the descent of that plane, right? So a golf ball is going to do the exact same thing. And what allows us to keep a golf ball close to the pitch mark is the angle of that descent. So when we start talking about a high number, we're talking about a ball that's coming down a little bit more perpendicular to the ground. When we start seeing descent angles that are a little bit lower, that number being a little bit lower, now all of a sudden what you're going to see is a ball that's going to move a little bit more. So with a driver, I might want my descent angle to be, in the 30s. With a wedge, I might want my descent angle to be in the, say, nearing 60. And interesting, we'll pull up the descent angle information and get an idea of what we're seeing here with Tiger and Rory as they're doing what they're doing. It's a really good question that we were asked. I think that's one of the things that players that are not professionals They don't really pay attention to that, and one of the reasons why is it's happening so far away from them. It's really one of the things that we don't understand. We don't understand how that works. Well, one of the things that happens in that descent angle is also the spin of the golf ball. So many times you at home, you're not paying attention to the decision that you're making with the ball that you're purchasing. And it should be the same ball. I mean, look, you all know I'm a Titleist guy, but what I want you to do is get the same golf ball. Whatever it is, get the same golf ball, because then you have predictability in what you're doing or as that golf ball is coming into the green. Now, this is a club that Tiger's put into the bag, and we're starting to see more of this. This driving iron is coming back, but it's coming back in a graphite shaft. That's what we're seeing a lot of players doing, because they want to try to get this ball to go a little bit farther. That graphite shaft, you can lighten that shaft a little bit more, which allows you to get a little bit more club head speed. And you can see Tiger carried that one 253 yards. And I don't know, L2, if you're able to pull up one of our graphics that will show the descent angle so we can get back to that question. But if we could do that, that would be great. You can see that apex of that shot there at 90 feet. That's a little bit flatter. And that spin rate as as loft comes off the club, the spin rate's going to go down, so the descent angle's going to decrease. This is also, he went after this one and tried to turn this a little bit more. So that one carries a little bit farther, curves 25 feet, but that thing's going to have what we call an attitude. That one, when it gets into the fairway, that's going to motor a little bit. Our featured group coverage coming up: Tiger Woods, Rory McIlroy, Justin Thomas. Now, Tiger has a 3-wood and a 5-wood. And this is the part of the game for Tiger that I start to worry about. There's the landing angle at 35 degrees. You can see how much that ball rolled out. That carry distance is 272. But that total distance might have been in the 295s in a sort of perfect world. Now, it might not be that way out here because of the golf course being a little bit softer. The course is in beautiful shape. The players are raving about it. See, one of the reasons, and back to this question of why he might have chosen to get on this side of the range. One of the reasons might have been that was the only space that was available. One of the reasons might have been you can see the sun and the shadow that it's casting. The sun is to Tiger's left. He may have come over here because, you know what, he doesn't want to wear himself out. This is going to be a long day. These rounds in major championships are going to be in threesomes or 3 balls, right in the neighborhood of 5 hours. And you can see the shadows. Range has started to free up a bit. There's nobody to these players' right. As we go back to Rory, and this looks like this is going to be a graphite shaft. So again, this is probably a 5-wood, maybe a 3. Notice the amount of time that the players are going to take between shots. What they're not going to do is tire themselves out. What you're going to do is you're going to hit as many balls as you can because you're hoping to find the key. Got to find the key. Get ready for my round of golf. Where's the ball going? Where am I going to aim? That is not what these players are going to be dealing with. Feel free to send in questions to us. Love the interaction. As we watch these players prepare for the opening round of the 100th PGA Championship from Belle Reve here in St. Louis. This is where we start to really have some fun. Those numbers there, 284 carry with that 3-wood. landing at about 43. Look at the apex. So as that apex starts to go up, 116 feet, that landing angle is also going to go up. Tiger now taking some time. He'll hit a shot and he'll then go back. Here's a question from Chris. What is the typical club lie angle for the tour pros? So the lie angle is basically the angle that the shaft of the golf club is at coming out of the head. Lie angles will change relative to the club itself. So wedges might be in the low 60s depending upon the height of the player and a few other things, arm length, even shot shape. Some players who like to fade the ball will have a little bit of a flatter lie angle. Some players that like to draw the ball, want that toe sticking up into the air, they might have a little bit of an more upright lie angle. So you're going to have some variance in the lie angle because you've got different clubs that have different lengths. Wedges are going to be a little bit more upright. Drivers and long irons are going to be a little bit flatter, but they're going to vary by 4 or 5 degrees. And then it's going to depend on the player itself. You get a guy like a Jamie Lovemark who's 6'4", his wedges may have lie angles of 67, 68. You get a guy like a Rory McIlroy here. He may like to have his lie angles a little bit flatter. Patrick Reed's a guy with his 61-degree wedge. He has that at 7 degrees flat. So if you just take a wedge that's going to be, say, an average might be at 61 or 2, depending on the manufacturer, he's got that thing in the low to mid 50s. Lie angle's a very, very important thing, and sometimes, many times, a misunderstood thing. That would have been a shot that Rory was trying to move a little bit, so he carried that 284. And that's 284, ladies and gentlemen, without the driver. That's a 3-wood. Tiger now with the driver. The other thing that you're going to notice about Tiger when he's doing this now is he's starting behind the golf ball. Now he's really trying to get comfortable creating a similar motion to what he's doing on the golf course. He was a little underneath that one, so that probably was a bit more to the right in its initial flight than what he had wanted to do. He might have also been trying to elevate that ball in the air, which is something that you're going to see the players do this week. This is a little wider stance, which is why Tiger normally isn't this wide, so he may be trying to elevate this ball, create a little bit more carry distance, because you're not going to get that distance on the ground. So what he might be trying to do is to get this ball to flight up into that 120 or 125 range, so that he'll pick up another 5-8 yards of carry distance. He's not going to get more roll, obviously. Look at how wide that stance is. That's very rare for Tiger. So he's working on the draw. You can see him turning that golf ball. That one didn't have the high apex, so he's carried that 284 rolling out to 301. Look at that draw curve. One of the things that Tiger talked about earlier this week as well is that through the course of the season, he's lost a little club head speed. His body doesn't seem to have the flexibility that it had at the beginning of the season, and he's lost some club head speed, so he's lost a little bit of distance. There's a good shot. Not a lot of curve to it. 176 miles an hour ball speed. That is very good. Notice how he's getting behind the golf ball. Coming into the club, getting a pre-shot routine going. Also, Tiger's a guy that uses an intermediate target. If you watch his head, that looked like a swing that had a little bit more speed, trying to maybe turn that over a bit more. And he might have been rehearsing a shot on the golf course with that. Many players will take that final driver swing, imagine that they're on the first tee, or if they're starting on the 10th tee, the shot that they might need, and then go and create that shot. Here's Rory with the driver. Now this is going to be a lot faster. Rory McIlroy is one of the higher clubhead speed players on the PGA Tour. He is right out front of my window, and you can hear the contact. It just sounds different. It's going to be fun to see what kind of ball speed Rory generates. My imagination would tell me that he's going to be into the 180s, and he will carry this without a problem over 300 yards. Look at the bounce in that swing. There's your ball speed of 183 miles an hour. That's what we thought was going to happen. Yep. Welcome to the trees. Carried that 324 yards. That's the number you're going to be paying attention to this week. Ball's not going to be rolling out a lot. Look at the apex. This is one of the reasons why this is my favorite. That apex at 132 feet is what he needs. A player who's going to win here this week, I think, needs to apex the ball very high. The golf course is not going to ask you to play around the hazards. In other words, around the water, around the bunkers off the tee. It's going to ask you to carry him. Ball speed 185. You're looking at that, you're going, wait, that ball speed is 2 miles an hour less than the ball speed that he had before. What happened? Well, he turned that one a little bit more. So the launch angle there, you see that launch angle at 12 degrees, that club face was a bit more shut. So the spin rate's going to be a little bit lower, which is going to throw the ball down to the ground. It still carries 300 yards, but it doesn't carry 324. So ball speed's an important thing, but also the position of the club face and the shot that you're hitting is going to be very valuable. Extremely important. As Rory heads over to the putting green, right around 8:05 local, they'll be going off here in just about 20 minutes. Again, taking your questions. This is so fun to be a part of this. This is the, we are in a very interesting space in technology in the game of golf. And so many of us don't understand what goes on. As we look at Tiger heading over, don't think it's a coincidence that both he and Rory are leaving the practice tee around the same time. They'll go over, spend a little bit more time on the putting green. And again, as I said to you before, the green speeds today are going to be different than what the players had been used to on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, because the winter time and the springtime out here in St. Louis created a little bit of a problem for the greens. And the greens, the root system is not great or deep out here, and they didn't want to stress out the greens. They wanted to try to have them be in great condition through all 4 days. And so they posted information in the locker rooms, letting the players know, hey, this is what's going on. All the players have raved about the job that Kerry Haig has done again. Players have different routines too. There's Ali Schneider-Jans. Players have different routines. Some will go to the putting green after they loosen up. Some will go both before and after. And my suggestion is, or my belief is that the players will spend a lot more time on the putting green today, this morning prior to teeing off than they might normally, because of that alteration of green speeds. Here's a question from Paul. Who's a dark horse player to keep an eye on this weekend? This is a wonderful question. Wonderful question. So I've got a dark horse who I think is somebody that you want to pay attention to. Now, I told you before, I think this is going to be a golf course where you've got to drive the ball really well, keep it in play. The fairways are generous, and you have to have some high trajectory. A guy who, in his prior 3 PGA championships, has yet to make a cut, which is hard to believe. That, I mean, if you're talking about a dark horse, this is dark. Okay, we're going dark here. But a guy that I'm looking at having a good week is Kyle Stanley. Now, Kyle Stanley missed the cut at Waste Management and then also at the Genesis. And you go, okay, well, wait a second. He missed cuts early. Then he missed the cut at the Players. He missed a cut at the U.S. Open. He missed a cut at John Deere. But he just finished second at the Bridgestone. And he finished 39th with a 76 in his final round at the Open. And so when you look at this and you go, okay, why does this favor a guy like Kyle Stanley? Well, Kyle Stanley is one of the straightest players on tour. Hits a lot of fairways. Near 75% of his fairways, hits a lot of greens. Very methodical. He's a guy who I believe he could have a very good week. And the PGA Championship does offer opportunities for players that are maybe not the model, which is hit it forever long and then find it. The rough around here, cut at 3 inches, is penal because of the zoysia and the way they've cut it. So they've got a mower line going towards the tee and a mower line going towards the green, and it varies. And I think you've got to get the ball in the fairway, and you've got to get the ball in the fairway with a little bit of distance. And Kyle Stanley is a guy who I think is going to have a good week. So that's my dark horse pick. Here's another question. Will the field be able to be aggressive or take conservative approach, especially on par 4s and par 5s? Well, and I think it's Jalen. I don't want to mispronounce your name. You've only got 2 par 5s. And I think Kerry Haig is going to do some alterations with a couple of the tees, so I do believe that he'll nudge the tees up and back on some of these par 5s, and particularly the 11th hole, which is not a par 5 but a par 4 with some water on the right-hand side. I think he'll do that. So I do think that being aggressive will pay off, but I also think that, again, because of the softness of the fairways and really the softness of the greens, you're going to be able to be much more aggressive. I also think that when the players are going around, talking to all these players, they all said the same thing, that this is going to be, I had one individual tell me that they thought that we might even see a round of a sub 63. So that will be very interesting to see. But I do think that players will be aggressive this week. I think you have to be. I think the golf course is going to offer a lot of birdie opportunities, even though it's a par 70 and sitting at just a shade over 7,300 yards. You're looking at our live from the range coverage. I'm Michael Breed, getting some great conversation from you all, your interaction, so please continue the questions. Feel free to reach out to us as we prepare for the opening round of the 100th playing of the PGA Championship. It is not the 100th year of the PGA. The PGA started back in 1916. Here's a question from Greg, can Tony Finau win? Is he a big dark horse? Let me tell you about Tony Finau. I've picked Tony Finau also. He's, so I have 5 guys that I choose. Tony Finau is one of those players that I think has a really good chance here in this, and for a variety of reasons. One of the reasons is he's a very high club head speed player. One of the reasons is, look, a guy who makes a hole-in-one in the par 3 at the Masters, dislocates his ankle and then puts it back into place. That guy's tough. But if you look at Tony Finau's record in major championships this year, it is, without winning, it has been very impressive. He finished 5th at the U.S. Open with a 72 in the final round. He finished tied 9th in the Open Championship with 71-71 over the weekend. And then he finished tied 10th at the Masters with a 66 in the final round. It's going to be a great week. Excited to bring it to you here on PGA.com. You can go over to PGA.com or find us here on PGA.com with our featured group coverage all week long. I'm Michael Breed. So looking forward to bringing you the action from the 100th playing of the PGA Championship.
St. Louis, Missouri, on the banks of the mighty Mississippi. It is the host site of the 100th PGA Championship. We are at beautiful Belle Reve Country Club, and the galleries are coming in massive form. It is going to be loud here at Belle Reve all week. Defending champion Justin Thomas, he and Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy as part of our feature group to get us started. The headliners on this opening round of the PGA Championship, an historic PGA Championship.
Measured on a scorecard, breaking 100 is the first mark of success in a golfer's career. Plotted on a timeline, 100 is a milestone, a symbol of longevity and dedication. These moments are more than an abstract archive. Each one carries a sublime significance for the man whose name is etched alongside it.
I fought so hard. It's incredible.
Right now, I'm the happiest person in the world.
It was pretty special.
One of the greatest memories of my golfing life.
I'll never forget it as long as I live.
Generation after generation, shaped by the history of the PGA Championship.
100 arms, 100 years, you can always find me here.
Oh, he's running after. He's ran after.
It's a good one. It's a great one.
Oh, it might be in.
Add that one to
PGA Championship War.
How does it feel like a scratch that itch? How does it
Oh, is it going to hang there? Oh, it falls. How about that?
YE, a shining star at sunset.
This major's next chapter will be crafted with unfamiliar expertise or the steady hand of experience revived.
Look at that face. This is the Tiger of old.
The applause won't stop.
Chills just ran down my whole body.
Oh, goodness. What a glove shots. He's the champion. Unbelievable. Welcome to the big time.
Your name is on that Wanamaker trophy forever.
For the 100th time, it's the PGA Championship.
PGA.com in association with the PGA of America. Wherever your golf journey is headed, let's get you there. Find your PGA professional at PGA.com. We're proud to present the 100th PGA Championship from beautiful Belle Reve Country Club in St. Louis, Missouri. And what a day we have for this opening round at this historic PGA Championship. Temperatures in the low 70s currently, very little wind, a soft golf course. There's going to be a lot of birdies here today. It is going to be loud, and there are going to be a ton of low rounds at Belle Reve in this opening round. Tiger Woods back on center stage, and what a way to begin our coverage of this final major of the year. We've got Tiger, Rory McIlroy, and defending champion Justin Thomas, shot by shot, hole by hole, start to finish. Opening round of the 100th PGA Championship. Brian Anderson with Billy Kratzert. Brian Katrick will be our on-course reporter today. We're delighted to have you with us on PGA.com. And Billy Kratzert, got a little break with the weather here. It looks nice. It's not as stifling hot as it could be in August in St. Louis. And we're expecting a lot of firepower and excitement here this week.
These guys going out today, they need to attack this golf course. They need to make something happen this morning, because you're not going to get better conditions than what we have right now.
Well, Brian Katrick, you're down in the middle of it all. The crowds were massive even for the practice rounds, and they're out in full force today. Great sports fans here in St. Louis.
Both sides of the fairway, all the way down, and we're going to see it all day, B.A. You're exactly right, and that has been a big part of the story. Kerry Haig told us earlier in the week when the guy, the chief championships officer for the PGA of America, is talking about these folks and their sports crowds here in St. Louis, you know it's a big deal.
Off the 10th tee, our feature group today with Tiger, Rory, and Justin Thomas. Hole announcer at the 10th tee is Tom Henderson out of the Mets section. Former PGA Professional of the Year back in 2015. He will do the honors and announce our three competitors that we're going to be following around all day long today, start to finish. This should be some fun. Let's listen in. Well, there's 10T here. Billy, it's a dog leg left, and you're going to hear that a lot this week at Belle Reve.
Well, indeed you are, and we take a look at this pretty tough opening hole, and right there at the turn, 280 to 320. I doubt if anybody's going to try to take it over that bunker, Brian, but today's hole location on that right-hand side, and you can see all the movement in the green. Bunkers around the 10th green, very deep. But even though the greens are large here at Belle Reve, they play kind of small because they're all sectioned off. And if you put the ball in the proper section with the soft conditions, you're going to have plenty of birdie opportunities.
Robert Trent Jones, design 1960. Reese Jones, redesign in 2006. And we'll introduce you to the golf course as we make our way around with our feature group today. Great to have you with us on PGA.com.
Saw that graphic. Pretty impressive. Justin Thomas, along with Woods and McIlroy, win a WGC and a PGA championship before the age of 26.
Previous few groups have not challenged that bunker on the left, guys, but it looks like Justin Thomas may be bringing it into play.
Tee times beginning at 6:55 a.m. this morning. This is the 8:23 local tee time. Now, what a group to follow here to get our coverage started.
Well, maybe one last look to see what the cover is on that bunker that Brian was talking about. I just think you have to play right of it.
Just waiting for the fairway to clear up ahead. Strongest field, 98 of the top 100 are here at the PGA Championship. Regularly the strongest field throughout the calendar year.
Well, you hope this isn't an ominous sign, but one of the players in the group in front hit it way right outside the gallery ropes and had to punch out. So a little extra delay here with, for the first time in recent memory, 11-minute tee time intervals, and we're waiting anyway.
Jordan Smith is the competitor in the fairway. I'm sure the nerves are cranking a little bit for all the competitors in the field, especially for a guy like Jordan Smith.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 100th PGA Championship. This is the 8:23 starting time. Now on the tee, please welcome the 2017 PGA champion from Goshen, Kentucky, Justin Thomas. Next on the tee, the 2012 and 2014 PGA champion from Northern Ireland, Rory McIlroy. And 2007 PGA champion from Jupiter, Florida, Tiger Woods.
could still draw a crowd. There's no question about that. The ultimate needle mover in the game of golf and in all of sports, Tiger Woods, often running here with Justin Thomas and Rory McIlroy. We welcome you to our coverage. Brian Anderson along with Billy Kratzert. Brian Katrick is our on-course reporter. And Billy, let's talk golf course first and get your thoughts. They had a lot of rain earlier in the week, about 1.5 inches Monday and Tuesday. The last 2 days, though, the sun's been out, and that's probably been a gift for this golf course to try to dry out a touch.
Absolutely. I just don't know how much it can dry out, though, Brian. And when I look at the width of the fairways, and you can see right there on the 10th hole, the fairway widths are generous. And I think that's what Kerry Haigh tried to achieve coming to Bellerive. This week, he's going to afford the players to showcase their skills, give them opportunity to get at some of these hole locations. But, yeah, the golf course is drying out. You're not going to get a lot of run with zoysia grass fairways. It's going to kind of pitch and maybe move a few extra yards, but not all that much. But the golf course is spectacular. I mean, it is in such good shape.
Par 70, so 2 par 5s. And each on the second to last hole of the inward and outward 9. So the par 5 at 8, the par 5 at 17. If you're talking about creating a little drama and maybe a comeback opportunity, but it does feel like a championship. And I think talking to a lot of the players as we have the last couple of days, I think the expectation is they're going to need to go low here to win this 100th PGA.
Oh, I totally agree. And you're going to have the opportunity. And you look at the golf course, and we talk about all the dogleg lefts. That certainly favors a player like Rory McIlroy. He loves to turn the ball right to left. Justin Thomas and Tiger Woods, Dustin Johnson, all those guys. You know, length is going to be so valuable here at Bellerive. You're going to be able to put the ball in the fairway. If you put it in the fairway, then you're going to have a much shorter club. And I just like the fact that it does kind of favor those guys. But yet you get that guy that just kind of just sticks in there and he hits some good mid-irons. He could be there as well.
Last time Bellerive was in a national spotlight like this, the 2013 Senior PGA Championship. They've had some moments here, of course. Had the BMW Championship here in 2008. Bellerive Country Club in St. Louis. And not part of the regular schedule, but they're hoping to become that once again. Yardage over 7,300 yards at par 70. They did change the par 4 fourth into what's formerly a par 5 into a par 4, and that's what they're chasing. The Wanamaker Trophy, 65 U.S. Open, and the 1992 PGA Championship. And Brian Katrick is down on the ground following this group all day long. How about these opening tee shots there, Brian?
Well, Tiger's got some trouble, B.A. Going to have about 217 to the hole, somewhere in that range, the 215 range. Ball is down, and he's got a tree in the way. He's got to keep this low.
We talk about the rough, Brian Katrick, and we talk about the way the grass is laying into the grain, with the grain. Is his ball laying with the grain?
It is not. Rory's actually is. Tiger's has got very much of a bird's nest lie over here.
And I think that's what the players are going to face. I mean, Tiger, you can see right or left, maybe a step or two, he would have been fine. He'd have been down grain. But this is some kind of thick lie in this rough.
Yeah, and that's what he thought of it.
Justin Thomas, beautiful drive to get his championship started, coming off a win last week at Firestone, and the defending champion here at the PGA Championship.
About 2 steps left of the shadow of the flagstick. There's a little sideboard that'll help him out here. Safety first.
Okay.
Still working. Still working.
Yeah, anything long and right is no good here.
This one will be a great litmus test for how brave these guys are. Down grain lie, but it shouldn't stop. except for how soft they are. Came out soft on him, Billy.
These deep face bunkers. A ton of bunker shots here at Belle Reve where you won't get a great look at the green. You might see just the top of the flagstick even. So Rory McIlroy in the bunker, just short. Our feature group off and running here at the PGA Championship. We are off indeed. Happy Thursday, everyone. Tiger, JT, Rory. Yeah, we're excited. TKS. That's the way to watch it right there. You got your work emails set up. You have your live coverage on PGA.com. Getting the idea. You have a lot of friends with you watching today. Tiger Woods third.
Only 5 steps right of it, Billy, but is it too early to go right at it?
For this man, I'm going to say no, but I'm looking at, for this to be a little left of the flag.
It is.
And that's what we're going to see. We're going to see these guys from the fairway, from these Zoysia fairways, put just an unbelievable amount of spin on the golf ball. And I think that's what they're going to have to control the most, is the spin with the softness. And when we were talking to Justin Rose walking down the fairway, he said, the Zoysia grass, he says the ball is so perched on top of it that there's no way you should ever hit a bad shot.
And it's not like Zoysia grass is a regular kind of fairway grass you'd see throughout the course of the year. There are a few locations in Atlanta, East Lake, but this is not something that is consistent throughout the course of a year for these players to play Zoysia grass. So it sits up beautifully. Do you change your swing at all? Do you change your approach on some of these approach shots?
No, I just think that you have to worry about the spin a little bit more because the lines are so good and the ball sits so high. And so you may, if you're in between the 8 and the 9 iron, you may see players go with the 8 iron just to try to minimize the spin with the softness of the greens.
First 8 groups who have played this 10th hole already getting started. Tee times began at 6:55. 14 pars, 10 bogeys. No birdies yet.
I don't see a lot of bogeys here. This is going to be by week's end. This is going to be one of the more difficult holes here at Belle Reve.
Well, Brian Katrick, the players, because of the rain on especially Monday and then Tuesday, spending a lot of time on the greens and trying to figure out locations of approaches, and then also some of these tricky lines on these greens as well, as we watch Rory in the bunker.
Bunker shots in particular. The centers of these bunkers to the centers of these greens are much farther than these players are used to because the greens are so big. These are some of the longest greenside bunker shots they'll face.
Wow. The zipper on it. I won't be happy with that. It looked like it was going to take a peek at it.
They're pretty much going to have to go with one style of bunker shot, carry it all the way the hole. They're not going to be able to play that shot that we call kind of a chunk and run, to where you just hit it on, maybe hit it a little heavy and let it release. You're going to see more bunker shots carried to the hole.
If you're just joining us, our feature group of Tiger Woods, Rory McIlroy, defending champion Justin Thomas. We'll be tracking these three all the way around today, starting on the 10th hole as we get underway at the 100th PGA Championship.
A lot of movement to the right here, and it's all very early in the putt.
Pretty slow going up that hill as well. Good speed, good speed. Yeah, once it gets over that little bit of rise right there, then it goes back down the hill, but pretty good effort by Justin Thomas.
One of 3 to have 3 wins this year on the PGA Tour. Bubba Watson and DJ, the other 2. but hoping that this final major of the year will be his once again. Certainly player of the year is up for grabs on the PGA Tour for Justin Thomas.
I think he locks it down with a victory here.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Well, you know there's going to be bogeys in a major championship week. Uphill, it's a double breaker, and it's for par. It's going left at the beginning, and then that hill that you talked about, Billy, that makes the putt fast at the end, should have this peeling to the right the last 10 feet.
Walked after that one quickly. Never enough.
It bounced as soon as he hit it, but I don't know if that hit was going to be hard enough to make it no matter what.
I think that's going to be the major adjustment for these guys this week. You know, the weather's been so hot here in St. Louis, and very rainy in April, then May, all of a sudden the heat wave. So the greens are slower than what you expect for a major championship, but that's okay.
It was about a year ago that this man was embroiled in a war with his putter. Seems like he's gotten a little bit past that, don't you think, Billy?
I do. Certainly last week in Akron, putted much better.
Opening bogey for Rory McIlroy. 5th ranked player in the world beginning this championship, and a 2-time winner. And now this left for Tiger Woods for a bogey, just shy of 10 feet.
I think it's enough to take it outside the hole, too. You can't just ram this in.
So critical for the players to hit putts that are solid. You hit it a little bit on the bottom, and then they'll have a tendency to get offline very quick.
All right, so a 5 for Tiger. Opening tee shot into the heavy rough. Had to punch out, and he and McIlroy start with bogeys. Good to see Tiger back and healthy again, playing in all 4 majors this year for the first time in a few years. Putt for par for Thomas.
This man earlier this year changed putters just for 1 week, but he's back to the trusty.
Good start for Justin Thomas, defending champion, son of a PGA professional, grandson of a PGA professional as well, coming off his 3rd win. Now on their way to the par 4 11th hole, measuring at 355 yards. What do you see in this one, Billy?
Well, it's certainly a positional par 4 because you have the water down the right-hand side, 294 to it, so players probably are going to hit either a fairway wood or maybe a long iron. Tiger has that stinger, but you see the whole location over on the right-hand side. I think this is a really good opportunity for Rory and Tiger to bounce back on this hole. This is one of the holes that the players identify as a birdie hole here at Belle Reve.
Ben Spearing checking in with us today. You know, the PGA Championship going to be a good one. Well, thanks, man. Appreciate that, Ben. Billy Kratzert, Brian Katrick. We've got Michael Breed coming in this afternoon. Billy's going to have a long day today. Fun day. He'll be
Indeed.
walking the course for the TNT coverage later this afternoon. Here's Thomas now on the tee.
Yeah, just a positional, right up the walk path there.
Just the 5 wood.
Urging it to get a little right, and it helped. Now he's created a really nice angle. Now Rory, also with less than driver, Brian.
Players can't see the bounce that Justin Thomas got. But you can see that one land.
Well placed. Already had 4 birdies today. About an hour and a half of play has gone through. This 11th.
So when I go out in the back, he reverses. You can take the tripod to the car.
So Tiger had a different one of these in the bag at the Open Championship at Carnoustie. He's back to his trusty hollow-bodied driving iron. Although that one didn't perform badly. Stinger.
And he's found the rough again.
That's not good. 2 missed fairways, 1 right, 1 left.
We'll take a break. Our feature group heading down the fairway at 11, second hole of the day for Tiger, Rory, Justin Thomas.